Welcome back to Operation Appetite for Destruction. This is turn 5 for Japan. It is now July of 1938. Japan's going to roll for the same 2 deck dice as last time. We're at stage 1 for improved construction, stage 1 for large ships. So let's quickly do that. Get that in nice right position there. So black will be construction. And we get a 9 and a 10. Bit of a hot streak here. So go to stage 2 for construction and stage 2 for large ships. How nice. Alright, so Japan has 27 in the bank. I think last turn I said 25, but I forgot to add in the 2 US oil. So we're going to spend a lot. I'm going to finish off the heavy cruiser for 5. 2 Marines for 4 apiece, so that's and an artillery piece, so that's 12, that's 17. Upgrade 2 militia each, so 19, 21, and then a handful of militia, 23, 25, 27. That's the lot. All right, let's get to combat. All right, the first combat will just be a simple one. So we've got a transport on the card here at. Let me just get this into a good spot. Transport on the card here in P14 is going to simply come out 1 and go to Hainan and drop a Marine off from Kwangtung. We've got an upset cat at the door that wants to see what's going on. And we're just going to simply capture Hainan with that 1 transport. So we'll do that with 1 Marine. That's just a walk on, so. Battle number 2 will be a motorized from Shantung. Coming out here with a movement of 2, 1 into Hopei, 2 into Shantung. So that motorized will be going into there. Joining that motorized will be 1 infantry from Hopei, which is going to step forward into there. And also 2 fighters, which will be joining the battle. Coming from, hopefully you can see that, coming from Korea with a movement from an airbase with a movement of 5. So 2 fighters there will 1, 2, and they'll just land straight back into Korea. That's battle number 2. Battle number 3 will be an infantry and an artillery. Where are you? Yeah, an infantry and an artillery from Kwangtung. So coming off the card in Kwangtung, we've got an infantry and an artillery that are going to step forward into Hunan. And that artillery. Joining them in that battle will be 3 tacticals, which are going to come off the fleet carrier here, and they're going to land back into Kwangtung. So let's place those there. 1, 2, 3. And poor old militias in for it. And then we've got battle number 4. So battle number 4 will involve a transport out of P14, which is going to come. Where am I? It's going to collect the Marine from Hopei. Joining that will be. Where am I? Marine from Hopei and an infantry from Formosa. So they will be going into, where am I? This transport from P14 collects the Marine from Hopei, comes down to P32, or actually doesn't even, comes down to P32, collects the infantry from Formosa and the Marine into Nanking. And that is the last battle. And I've made a meal out of this. And so that's against that lone militia, which hopefully will be surrounded at this point. Joining them will be 2 fighters coming off from Korea with a movement of 5, 1, 2, and then just going to land back into Korea. That's Nanking. So that's the last battle. Okay. All right, so let's get to rolling all of that. So the first battle was a walk-on, so we don't need to worry about that. The second one is the motorized and infantry with 2 fighters in Hopei. So we're from Hopei into Shantung. So we've got the motorized, and an infantry and 2 fighters against a militia. They're not crossing any rivers because the river's on the other side. So let's roll that out real quick. It should be pretty straightforward. These are all pretty easy little battles. So we've got, let's get some dice. Let's get some lucky red dice. All right, so let's just start with the 2 fighters and see if we can get the job done. So the 2 fighters at 6 and 9 and a 7. So I spoke too soon. And then we've got the infantry and the motorized at 2 apiece. And they miss as well. And then the militia back at a 2. He misses, thankfully. All right, let's go to the 2 fighters again. And we finally get our hit, a 5 there. So his militia back at a 2. Oh, I thought he was going to hit me. All right, so we take Shantung with no casualties. And those 2 fighters will fly back to Korea. I'm just going to put them there just for ease. So we take Shantung with 1 infantry and 1 motorized. All right, battle number 3. So this is the battle down here into, what's that one called again? Hunan. So we've got 1 infantry and 1 artillery that's marching up. We've got the 3 tacticals. So we've got a first strike. We are crossing a river into Hunan from Kwangtung. So the first strike will be at a 2. And that's a 1. So we get a hit there. And then he's got, well, actually, no, he's got nothing in return because that's a first strike. All right, so we take Hunan with 1 infantry and 1 artillery. The 3 fighters will land back on the card in Kwangtung. Let's do that. All right, so we've got 2 there. The last battle is here in Nanking, where it's surrounded, and we've got the infantry and marine amphibiously assaulting against that lone militia in the city with 2 fighters. All right, so let's start off with the 2 fighters first, so if we can get the job done again. So the 2 fighters. And 9 and 11, gee, my fighters really stink. And then we've got the infantry marine at 2s. And they miss. And then because he's surrounded, he's got that militia at a 1. And he misses. Round 2. So we've got, let's go the 2 fighters again. Ugh, 12 and a 12, really? And then we've got our 2, the marine and the infantry. And then he's got his guy to 1. He misses. All right, this is the last round against this plucky defender here in Nanking. So the 2 fighters, come on. Yeah, we got 2 hits. All right, thankfully. And then his militia back out of 1. And that misses. All right, so we take Nanking, luckily, on the last round. And Rondell for that. Thought I had enough out, but maybe not. Oh no, I've got the Japanese guy standing on it. That's right. So we take Nanking with 1 marine and 1 infantry. The 2 fighters that participated in that battle are landing back into Korea. So we got those 4 fighters now back in Korea. All right, so that's the sum total of all the combat movement. Let's get into some non-combat movement. All right, while we're up this neck of the woods, where are we? All right, so we're going to have 1 infantry from Shantung step into Hopei. We're going to have 1 infantry from Beiping step into Suyon. 1 mountain infantry will move into Suyon. 1 artillery will step into Suyon. That's that. All right, now we'll get to moving some naval transports. So let's just go on to the other side. It's a bit easier. Okay, so we've got from P14, so we've got the transport here in P14 that's going to come back 1 into P15, pick up 1 cavalry. So we'll just, is it 1 cavalry? And 1 cavalry and 1 infantry. Oh no, 2, sorry. It's going to come back from P14, pick up 2 cavalry, I should say, rather, and come down with a movement of 3, 1 into 32, 3 into P41 and go in port in Quang Tung. And it's going to drop off those 2 cavalry in Quang Tung. All right, the transport that's left here in Quang Tung that didn't move is going to conduct a strategic naval movement. So with a movement of 4, 1 into 32, 2 into 15, 3 into 32, 4 back into Quang Tung in that major port, and drop off another 2. I'll just chip this out. Another 2 cavalry into Quang Tung and go on port. So we've got 1 cavalry left back there. Okay, the transport that's in P14 is going to come back 1 into 15, collect that other cavalry, and then come down 2, 3, and go in port in Quang Tung and drop off that last cavalry. So we've now got all the transports moved. Now I can't remember when I amphibiously assault, I'm pretty sure I can just go straight in port there. I don't think it's going to matter this turn, but if I can, that transport will just go and port into Nanking that amphibiously assaulted. Pretty sure I can. All right, the coastal sub that's in P50 is going to come down 1 into P59. Okay, so the ships that are currently in P41, which are consisting of a battleship, 3 heavy cruisers and 3 destroyers, a fleet carrier and a light carrier, will all go in port in Quang Tung and provide that ghost militia. So they're in port. Along with that will be the 4 transports. They'll also go in port. So essentially the only thing that's not in port right now in P41 will be those 3 destroyers. They're just going to be at sea. So we'll just put them back here and get them off the card for a minute. All right, hopefully that makes sense. All right. Let me just double check. So we've moved all of that. Wanted. All right, let's get to placement of units. So come back over here. The heavy cruiser that we produced will go in port in Tokyo, again providing that ghost militia. Then we've got an artillery and Marine. Where'd that other Marine go? I had 2 Marines, I'm pretty sure. Did I pick that up somewhere? That is weird. It's like it's disappeared. Maybe I picked it up somewhere when I was moving stuff. I'll have to go back and watch again. Thought I bought 2 Marines. I'm pretty sure I did. Goodness me. Alright, I'll go back and watch that again later. Alright, I've got 2 militia upgrades. One's going to go into Rihe, so we take that away. And then we've got the other militia upgrade, which will go into Eastern Manchuria. And then we've got 3 militia to put down. So we're going to put 1 into Sion, 1 into Quang Tung, so that can go down there. And then we've got our last one, which we're going to put into Hopei. Okay, do I need that infantry there? I don't really need him in Beiping, do I? Alright, so I'm going to move one infantry up from, sorry about this, but I'm going to move one out of Beiping into Hopei. There. Okay, cool. All right, income-wise. All right, so we lose $1 for the US oil. So we're now getting one. We picked up Shantung, and we've picked up Nanking and Hunan. So for bonuses, we get an extra we'll get an extra 6 on our base IPP plus Hainan, so that's 7, so we should be at 29. And then we've got our bonuses of Beiping, Hopei, Shantung, that's 3, so that's 32. Nanking, Hunan, and Guangdong, so there should be a total of 6 further, so that's 35 plus the 1 for the oil is 36 for next turn. And I forgot to roll for Siam last turn. I believe this is the last turn that I get to roll for him, so we'll quickly do that. Rolling at a 1, then I'll do a quick unit recap. That's no good. All right. And all right, let's just do a quick unit recap. In Northern Manchuria, 1 militia. Rihe has 1 infantry. Eastern Manchuria. Where did I put that artillery? Goodness me. Huh. I'm going to have to go back and watch because I'm pretty sure I purchased an artillery and I was going to put it into Rihe and I don't know what I've done. Oh, I've put it into Kyushu. Sorry about that. Okay, I know what I've done. So that's going to go into Rihe. Apologies there. And I think I'm still somehow missing a Marine, which is super weird. Anyway, all right. Apologies for that. I'll keep going. So Northern Manchuria, 1 militia. Rihe, 1 infantry, 1 artillery. Eastern Manchuria, 1 infantry. Korea has 4 fighters. In Suyeon, we have 2 infantry and militia, mount infantry, and 3 artillery. That's right, isn't it? Yeah. Beiping empty. Hopei, 2 infantry and a militia. In Shantung, 1 infantry. Yeah, 1 infantry, 1 motorized. In P14, we have 1 battleship and 1 heavy cruiser. I think I'm supposed to use some of those guys in bombards. I don't think we needed them. Sorry about this, it's a bit of a mess. Nanking, 1 marine, 1 infantry. In port, 1 transport. Hunan, 1 infantry, 1 militia. Guangdong, 1 militia, 2 marines. Should be total now 5 cavalry, 3 tacticals, and then we've got in port, battleship, battle cruiser, 3 heavy cruisers, fleet carrier, light carrier, and 4 naval transports. Hainan has 1 marine. Okinawa seaplane, Volcano Islands infantry. In port in Tokyo, 1 heavy cruiser, 1 marine in Kyushu. The other one's missing in action. P-35, 1 militia. Volcano Islands militia. Caroline Islands, 1 infantry, 1 light cruiser, 2 TBDs, 1 coastal sub. Palau has a infantry. Down here, I-11, 1 light cruiser, 1 fleet submarine, 1 fleet submarine in I-7. And we've got a fleet submarine down here off Sydney in P-72. And I think that's it. I'm going to go back and watch my video again, see what the heck I did with that marine. Thanks for watching. I'll turn it over now to Global War Enthusiast.